Started. Everybody, welcome back to What Keeps You Up at Night, Entrepreneurship During Challenging Times. We took a nice little 5-week break to re-energize, to then work and strategize to put together the next batch of shows that we're going to have here. And we've changed our format around a little bit. Rather than twice a week, half-hour shows, we are now doing one show for 60 minutes here, and we actually double our pleasure with our co-hosts. The fact I have both Maryam and Reza combining forces here, so the three of us will be co-hosting our show now, happening on Tuesday at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and I'm excited. I know that both of them are energized and ready to go, and our first show here that we're having in September is one that we've been working on for a couple of weeks. Once we realized that it is Accessibility Month in BC here, and I reached out to my friends Tanelle and Kevin, who we've had on as part of our impactful speaker series with Van Startup Stories. I reached out to them. It's like, hey, you want to do this? And they're like, heck yeah, let's do this thing. So what's happening? And I had the good pleasure of meeting Tom Conway, who's the CEO of Small Business BC, joining us also. Last minute, he's jumped on and looking to get having a great conversation with him also. So with that in mind, I'm quickly going to share my screen, and then we're going to get rolling here. And my good friend Reza, I think you'll be happy to know that I'm getting a little better at doing the screen thing nice. Here, rather than stumbling it over for 5 minutes. So there, it only took me 25 episodes, but here we are. So yes, today, as I mentioned, we're going to have Tanelle, Tom, and Kevin as our guests here to talk about their journeys, also with as entrepreneurs, and working with the challenges that they have and the opportunities, and how that all folds into Accessibility Month here. And as I mentioned here also with Tom, is going to be doing the same with us as far as the lens that he sees things through with his team with Small Business BC. So as we always do, deep breath. How's everybody doing? Is everybody hanging in there okay? I know with us, we really needed a little bit of a break, even though we were excited. We wanted to keep going week after week. And I'll have to say, Reza, he was the energizer buddy on this one. He's like, let's keep going. And Maryam and I actually talked him down. It's like, I think we need a break here so we can actually come back even stronger than before, which I know we're going to be doing. So we're doing our best to hang in there, to take care of ourselves. We're hope that you're all doing that too, especially now that kids are back to school, and just with the workplace, that we have to be even more diligent and more respectful for ourselves and each other here with COVID-19 to make sure that we actually crush this thing the best that we can to get back to life in the way, hopefully, as similar to what it was pre-March that it was. Speaking about pre-March, I haven't cut my hair pre-March. I am going to be cutting this hair a little bit tomorrow. Don't worry, it's not going to go crazy short. But yes, you'll see a little bit of a new look with me, at least with this COVID hair finally cut a little bit. So with Startup Vancouver, as one of over 40 community chapters of Startup Canada, and we are here as that connective tissue, that and that hub that brings together all the awesome organizations and like-minded entrepreneurs to give you the best chances of success by giving you the events, the resources, the tools, and the connectivity to succeed along your entrepreneurial journey. So best way to connect with us is through social media, where we're very active, as you can see there, with both Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And we've also launched our YouTube channel, which we then put every recording for every event that we do. So if you enjoyed this and you want to hear some other impactful, awesome stories from amazing entrepreneurs and influencers and innovators, please go there. And while you're there, subscribe to the channel. And if you like it, leave a comment. This is an interactive hour of conversation. So yes, we'll be speaking to each one of the guests for about 10-15 minutes. But after that, we are opening it up to the audience. So both Zoom here in chat, please leave any questions that you have for our guests, and also on Facebook Live, put it in the comments there, and we will make sure that we ask your question here for you. So a bit of talking about community announcements here. Of course, being involved and being part of Startup Canada, the Startup Canada Canadian Export Challenge, the CXC 2020, is happening virtually this year, like everything else is now. So this is actually happening for the West Coast and the North. Is happening on the 17th of September. You can still register to pitch at this, or if you just want to attend for free, the live event also. So we will be putting the link to that in chat. It's also all of our social media platforms, easy to find there. Also, our great friends at Spring, Keith Eppel, they do wonderful things too. Tomorrow, they are doing an Ask Me Anything on SEO. So search engine optimization. So an Ask Me Anything there, I would recommend if you have a little bit of time there as an entrepreneur, jump on that one there. At the end of the month, our good friends with Vancouver Startup Week. Some people get confused. Startup Vancouver, Vancouver Startup Week, you're the same people. It's like, no, we're not, but we support them and they're awesome. And we collaborate, we don't compete. So the part of their virtual, their event is their virtual recruitment fair, which they're doing. But over 4 days, they are doing amazing online events. So taking what they did in venue for the previous years, they're going to do a fantastic job over those couple of days. So there's still time to register for that with Vancouver Startup Week coming up at the end of the month. We are very grateful to have as our charity sponsor, sorry, get that out there. See, I've been off for 5 weeks. I'm a little bit rusty here. So our charity sponsor that we have with our partner is Jack.org. And Jack.org is an organization, a grassroots organization across the country that supports youth mental health awareness. And they do this through the advocacy at this grassroots level by getting young people involved as the ambassadors. And we are, as I said, we love what they're doing. And people have been kind enough to donate money over the last while when they register on Eventbrite. It's something we put out there if you want. So far, we've raised over $500, and we do have one donation today. And as I always do, which I know Maryam and Reza are always going to laugh out of this, I will be singing today. So I always do a musical shout out for that individual or people that that support us. So as I mentioned, both Maryam and Reza are my co-hosts here. They are on the show today, so you get all of us at once here. So you don't have to wait a couple extra days to see their smiling faces and hear the conversations that they have and the insights that they provide. And with that, very quickly here, so Kevin Priebe, who is such an advocate for ability rights, working with Society Wheelchairs Limited. He's going to be talking about that with Reza at the end of the show. And as I mentioned, I'm going to have the pleasure of speaking with Tom Conway, who is the CEO of Small Business BC. And we're going to really focus on what they are doing. As you can see up there in the top left, September is Accessibility Month with Small Business BC, and find out all the great things. They got a ton of webinars, well, 17 you can see right there. So we're going to be talking about that with Tom. And also, to start off the show here, Maryam's going to be talking to my good friend Tanelle, and she does many, many things, wears many hats as an entrepreneur, and one of them is the RAD Society and the Adaptive Society there. So they're going to be talking about that and many, many other things. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I'm now going to be quiet, and I'm going to hand it over to my good friend Maryam, and also with Tanelle. So Tanelle, if you can actually turn on your mic and your video. And
well, we might not have to get to have the video today because of bad reception, and yeah.
That's okay. So so Maryam, we still have the musicality of your voice there. So
My
Maryam,
apologies.
once again, I'll hand it over to you to get things started for us.
Thank you so much, Colin. Tanelle, it's a pleasure to be speaking to you today, and I had the pleasure of meeting you at one of the Pick My Brain sessions, and really your strength and resilience in your mindset and your focus are so inspiring. And today, really want to talk about your journey and also, you know, your path towards how RAD came about. And so perhaps you could you know, tell us that what have been some of your proudest moment since since the accident, August 10, 2014. It could be anything like any emotional, like mental, physical barriers that you overcame, anything small or big, and that led to you developing and creating RAD. So if you could share your stories with our guests who are not familiar with you, would be really lovely.
So let me know if I am not coming through verbally, and I'll shut this off, but I'll try my best.
For sure.
And thank you, Maryam, for such a nice introduction. It has been a pleasure slowly getting to know you, and this I think is the universe telling me that we need to be friends more. So, but I hurt myself at 27 years old in a recreation accident when I was out camping with friends, and this this incident, I ended up in a gap in the system as an independent living adult who now lives with a disability. I had to lose everything in order to gain support from the government for my disability. I was not covered with full health insurance, which is a falsity of the Canadian medical system, in that you think that as a Canadian citizen you are fully covered, but that is not the case. So I struggled with pursuing adaptive sport athletics very quickly because I wasn't provided the means of access to equipment properly. I couldn't go play my way. I didn't have options to go and learn a lot of things, and there was no just readily available catcher's mitt for somebody that wants to still be fully independent. At 27 years old, I operated businesses. I had my own business. I was a fitness competitor, and all of this stuff seemed to stop. So I had the support of an accounting firm as well as a law firm in this idea that I had created in my head, which is RAD, Recreation Adapted Society, to start to fill this void where independent living adults who have either lost the ability to, or perhaps never had the ability to recreate at their convenience, their own way, with their friends and family. 2017, August of 2017, RAD was incorporated as a not-for-profit Canadian charity with the mission to provide affordable rental adaptive equipment, try it before you buy it, to independent living adults who wish to play outdoors. That really, there was a million things to overcome in there. You end up with a disability and it's like fast tracking to 70 years old, and you have all of these body issues and problems and things that I didn't know at 27. People weren't in wheelchairs for an extended period of time. Like, you could have sustained an injury and that's where you are yesterday.
And I feel that we take so much for granted, and even during COVID is so, we can see that there's so much that we take for granted, and now, like, how are we going to pivot? How are we going to adapt to our circumstances and how it is? And really curious to know maybe a few examples of how you overcame some of those challenges. You could share with us.
So with COVID, I feel like COVID is the oh no, hang on. Let's get rid of the video. Oh, is it better now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, good. I feel that COVID is the aftershock of spinal cord injury. I would have not been able to have flown into the COVID setting. All right, long story. I had all of the hardware in my back replaced February 21st this year, which is 3 weeks basically before everything shut down for COVID. this surgery was really unexpected. I expected a 3-week recovery, and I ended up with a 3.5-month recovery. So COVID provided me the space personally and for RAD and the events that I had organized throughout the spring and the summer of 2020. I was gifted by COVID the chance to not have to explain myself, my surgery, my mental health and physical recovery being so vastly different, because I got to pull the COVID card. I canceled everything. I semi-retired myself until spring of 2021. And if not for spinal cord injury 6 years ago, I was nearly living paycheck to paycheck. I had a business and operated 2 others and bartended 3 nights a week and did fitness competitions. I was 7 days a week, busy in the public with activities all the time. So, you know, August 10th, 2014 was that date that I was granted the gift of perspective, and I began to live within my means, or, you know, not that there's any means in the $1,000 a month that the government gives you for persons with disabilities, but, you know, it was just a earthquake shattering moment where COVID is aftershock. 6 years later, I'm set up to do this. I've done this once. We've practiced. I have, you know, an incredible network of people. Maryam, Colin, Kevin, like, you guys are all, this is not the first time we've been in the room together. And I would consider you closer than acquaintances at some points, right? Then spinal cord injury and the disabled population with COVID, yes, we are affected because we have lost that ability to be together in the same space with, you know, more individuals, but we have gained huge leaps and bounds in accessibility in buildings. Now, all of a sudden in restaurants, wheelchairs fit everywhere because you have a 6-foot distance between people. I don't have people tripping on me because there's a path of egress. They're watching where they're going. If there's a person with a disability and a mask on, they give you 12 feet, not 6. The doors that don't have buttons are now propped open. And we used to be told that for fire reasons and for the wind and for the weather and for the heating bill, that they couldn't do that. And it changed overnight. It became accessible overnight. So there's a lot of things I'm learning as an entrepreneur right now that, you know, and a lot of ammunition for my mission of making things more barrier free and inclusive just for physical abilities is I've got more ammunition.
And I see definitely, and I see when you go and on their gear in the Rad Society webpage, and there are like, have you used many of these gears, or how do you get introduced to? I'm just curious to see like the technology, what technology plays a part. You know, there's some breakthrough technology that has helped you, and I know that also you worked with Kevin, right, to create a customizable, and so a little bit of talk around how technology has been able to assist you, and do you have any criteria for what are the particular texts that you put in that in the gear sections? You know, what qualifies to be put
everything everything that you can play with outdoors or in sport and recreation qualifies as long as it can be used independently. So there are many organizations out there that assist those that need assistance, where there's not any organizations out there that will let you borrow this very atrociously expensive gear to do whatever, from the beach to the mountains to the trails to the road, from cycling and hiking and surfing and bike, like all of the things. There's no limit on that. The real limit, or the real point that I have to stick through to with my mission is independent living adults that, you know, I will help with my network of people, everybody that has a question. I try and answer all the questions as best I can, but the charity itself, I have a mission because it's not fulfilled by anybody else. The technology And the way that I find all of this equipment is honestly usually social media, Instagram, and the athlete groups that I participate in international events with. That network of people runs very vast and very deep. With a spinal cord injury or any sort of neurodeficiency, we become a lot closer, a lot faster from a lot further away. Long before COVID, we've been doing this with disabilities, you know, as soon as the internet started to pick up.
And I know they're so costly. And so how do you help the people who come to you with all the costs? Are you doing fundraising?
I panhandle for pledges. Yeah. Yes, I panhandle for pledges. I do fundraising. I have people that are very generous with, their Christmas funding that supports a not-for-profit. I will get that. There's grants that I'm currently starting to apply for with the Enabling Accessibility Fund, and trying to find different means. As a one-woman show still doing this, it is, I had 3 months of time written off with surgery that I wasn't expecting. So I am also, learning with everybody else with COVID to give myself grace in time and how things get accomplished. I want them to move at light speed, and that's not always a possibility.
I know, and that's what, I'm sure it's prior, after your accident, there was having this new identity. There's so much learning to adjust, right? And now again, do you feel that a lot of the skills that you gained during this time has helped you during the past 6 months as well? To some of the with helping with mental health and the skills that you built, in the past
yeah,
years. And
I've had the team set up and in place since, I built them over the first year of my injury. I've always struggled in Canada with access to appropriate mental health help. Still to this day, I have no resources in Canada for mental health help. My help comes pro bono from Texas. So, there's just some things in the system still, even for me. I'm a baby in the spinal cord injury world at 6 years, and I am finding deficiencies along the way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My help has come from my peers. Yeah. My help comes from peers.
What can we do? I know this is the Accessibility Month, and you're also writing these grants. So how can we do, in our audience, what can we do to help you?
Oh my gosh, this is always the $1 million question, and I'm so terrible at answering it. What?
Whenever you remember, we can always share the link with our audience. If you don't have the answer right now, it's totally fine. I know that you're working on that grant, so.
Yep, here I have a GoFundMe that is on my Facebook page, Tanelle's Journey, and I believe it's on Tanelle too, and I'll just double check. And I'm currently working on an initiative called the Rad Gearbox that has been approved in Squamish as a community initiative for inclusion in recreation. And it is rental adaptive equipment in a retrofit shipping container that has been approved to go at Brennan Park in Squamish. So I have the shipping container. I have the majority of the equipment that I can open it with and still satisfy the public enough that it will generate more equipment in the future. And I am looking for $15,000 right now to make it from a regular shipping container into something that's wheelchair accessible, insulated with a workbench, possibly a solar grid on top so it's no environmental footprint, and a roll-up accessible garage style door on the side. And they're willing to facilitate it as the prototype in Squamish. And I've got, I have a $10,000 letter into an individual, and I need to come up with $5,000 myself.
Got
Yeah,
it.
that was really good. You did the perfect thing there. You asked for one thing. So we always make the mistake here when we do a pitch or an ask is like you ask so many things. And I'm guilty of this too. So
Oh, Colin, thank you. I'm getting better.
You nailed that. You asked for one thing, so we're getting people to be very clear of what it is. I saw Tom writing some notes down there, so maybe some magic will happen over there. I'm not going to promise anything, but
it's okay. I'm going to harass you very ridiculously later.
That's awesome. So hey, before we move over to my conversation with Tom, we do have a couple of minutes for some questions. Opening up to the audience here, both on Facebook and on Zoom. I don't know, Reza, if there's any questions there, or if
there's
not,
no questions yet. But I just want to say it's impressive just to listen here. It gives you perspective of life, and it's inspiring. That's all I have to say.
Appreciate that, Reza. Thank you.
Yeah. And I know your journey has not been an easy one, Tanelle. I mean, you and I have known each other, been friends for a couple of years now. We met through golf. Of course, we were the golf podcast with entrepreneurs, and what you've done in that space, and what of many things you're doing there with Paragolfer. So, yeah, that resiliency that you're showing, but I know it's been a struggle for you. And if there's any ways that we can help by doing small things like this, and if Tom, then hopefully being able to amplify that. I feel like we're putting Tom on the spot here now, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I love what you're doing, and I want you to succeed. And it is about this, like any entrepreneurial endeavor. It is about partnerships, and it's about succeeding that way. And we hope to connect what we do, just like the sign says behind us here with Startup Vancouver, is to connect people, including yourself, to the opportunities and the other people that can help propel all the things forward that you want to do.
So appreciate it, Colin. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome. So, hey, before we switch over,
and thanks for listening to me just babble on.
Oh, no. Okay. It's so inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing. And please share the links with us whenever you get the chance so we can share it with our audience and with our network.
Yep, absolutely. So
I will.
So hey, well, Tanelle, thank you for that. Maryam, as you always do, you really ask great, thoughtful, insightful questions. So thank you for that. I will try to pick up that thoughtfulness with my conversation with Tom here as we move over to this. So yeah, Tom, if you can turn on your mic here, and looking forward to our conversation here. So as I've mentioned before, we have the honor of having the CEO of Small Business BC, Tom Conway, with us today. So Tom, to get us started here, perhaps you can tell us about Small Business BC very quickly, what you do and why you do it, and then distill that down to all the good things you are doing, including the 17 webinars this month for Accessibility Month.
Will do. Thank you, Colin. And before I do that, if you don't mind, I was taking notes about Tanelle's conversation, and thank you for sharing, Tanelle. I really appreciated hearing your story. It reminded me so much. I come from the States originally, and I was in Central California before moving to BC, where I worked for Easter Seals and worked very closely with many families living with disabilities. And one of my colleagues in the Central Valley started an organization called Able Advocates for her son, and that was in 2013, I believe. And so similar to your path, what you're doing now and getting equipment and adaptive equipment for others, I'm going to try and connect you to, because I think that she can also help you with the fundraising kind of things and things like that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I loved your story. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, in Small Business BC, we are a nonprofit organization here based in Vancouver, although we are a provincial organization, so we serve everybody in the province, entrepreneurs in particular, trying to help them get started. Everything from coming in to get your name registered for your company, how do you write a business plan, how do I access financing to get my business off the ground, how do I grow my business, how do I export. So we have so many services here at Small Business BC that we provide. We normally have people walking into the office. We're based in the Waterfront Center here in downtown Vancouver, but we've remained closed to the public for now while we navigate because we have about 100,000 people coming through this building on a daily basis. So we're probably going to go by appointment only, but people can come in or you can access us online, like we're doing for Accessibility Month and our webinars there. Most of our education is done online right now, and we're going with on demand shortly. We really ramped up. I was talking with this team earlier, really ramped up during COVID. I don't think me or my team have worked harder in our lives during these past 6 months trying to help people navigate, those things that have been keeping me awake at night, those things that are keeping entrepreneurs awake at night, how to sustain their business, how to be resilient, how to pivot if necessary, or even how to start a business. We have people calling in now, still wanting to start a business. And that gives me hope, that resiliency, that wanting to help one another. It's really given me hope through this crisis. And so speaking about Accessibility Month, which is taking place, as Colin mentioned, this month, this started in conversations with our colleagues at the President's Group, and here I'm going to have to pull up some notes here because I don't want to miss anybody, with our colleagues at the Offices of Small and Medium Enterprises and Community Futures Entrepreneurs with Disabilities program. We started this last June actually with a week, and it was so successful that we had another Accessibility Month in January, and that was so successful that we're doing it again now in September. So I'm really excited about that program. I'm going to post some links here to Accessibility Month and our COVID resources. But as Colin noted, we have 17 webinars. There are several that are taking place this week. And for individuals, entrepreneurs with disabilities, our colleagues at Community Futures have an application intake process for the seminars that you can get underwritten for the courses. So if you are approved and qualify as a person with a disability, you can attend those workshops for free. So I'll leave it there for now. But
good stuff. Good stuff. And I know that our good friend Dugan Selkirk, who is part of the leadership team with entrepreneurs, the Entrepreneurship Disabilities Program (EDP) with Community Futures BC, who has been a fabulous supporter of ours over the last couple of years and continues on to be so. So I know that with Dugan, he's on here also, so we can then put some links on there also for the good things that EDP are doing. I know, Tom, you mentioned that. It's always good. We'd rather have them on there twice than not at all. So yes, just connecting everybody here to the opportunities here. So let's distill this right down here, Tom. Let's use an example here of having both Kevin and having Tanelle on today. So both of them doing similar yet diverse things within the small business community, what they're doing. With the resources and the tools that you're putting forward in the month, and then after that, what are some of the things that can help them directly that Small Business BC can help support them?
Well, I would say in addition to the programs are our typical educational programs that we would offer to any entrepreneur, and it shouldn't be any different, right? And so, working through COVID during this time, you're working on your taxes, marketing for small businesses. That's critical. Like for instance, what Tanelle just mentioned is getting the word out about your business can get that financial support that you need. So doing marketing appropriately to get that out. Where we have incorporating your business, starting smart for those people who want to start a business. So all of our experts they give their time back to the community to educate how to start a business and how to do those things I just mentioned in addition to others. And so I would highly suggest those links that I see Dugan there. I'm glad to know that he's on here, and I'm glad that I mentioned them as one of our co-sponsors of this event, because they're always wonderful to work with. But yeah, I would check those out too. And because yeah, that's the thing. That's critical for me. I helped start a couple businesses when I was at Easter Seals in California for entrepreneurs with disabilities, and both of the businesses were run completely by them. But there are also employers. One of the courses we're offering is how do you become a more accessible workplace? How do you, when you're hiring individuals with disabilities and opening that up to hiring people? So there's so many things that folks could be looking at.
Right. So let's start. So you're saying the 17 webinars you are putting on, the first one is going to be, I think you said this week or very shortly. Could you even just tell us what the topic is for the first couple that are coming up?
Sure. So we had one already last week, and that was the COVID safety and energy efficiency for your small business. This week we have tax sense for small business and marketing. Marketing is on Thursday and tax sense is Wednesday. And then how to do business with the federal government early next week. And then the list goes on. So that link that I put there in the sidebar there up at the top, the one that starts Small Business BC Article Accessibility Month, check that out because all of the courses are listed there. And all you have to do is click on the links and you can register for those.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure, as we do just through our social media channels afterwards over the next day or so, we'll make sure we promote all those good things that you're doing there for you. That's so good. So we always ask the question, and you kind of touched on this earlier, what keeps you up at night? It must be, it sounds like you've never worked as hard, but also has been as engaged as you are now, because you must, you must also have to deal with a lot of, I don't want to say negative stories, but so many small businesses in the retail sector and the restaurant sector. How are you and your team? 'Cause you have a very small team with small business. How are they doing? And how do you maintain the culture? I know I'm asking a lot of questions, so let's ask this question. How do you maintain the culture of engagement at Small Business BC, considering you've probably just been inundated so heavily over the last 6 months? So how do you keep everybody plugged in, positive, and engaged there with Small Business BC?
Yeah, thank you. Well, and like many of the folks on your webinars have mentioned, you know, we all kind of got hit at once in March, and then we had to make the quick decision to go remote. And so we had to ramp up, like getting equipment for people. And thank goodness we are supported by both the provincial and the federal government. And so we couldn't have done everything we did without them. So I have to acknowledge that too. And the team, you know, worked remotely. And, you know, for a while, I think it was fully fine. But I think we're also opening our doors to our staff again to get some people back in the office to give them that opportunity if they want. We've tried to do some online, you know, games and things like that. And we've had a few farewell parties, that socially distanced farewell parties in parks here, trying to keep that connection, because we've had a team meeting here, and that was critical in seeing, you know, that face-to-face connection. We had 10 folks in our hub space, and it just was, I think, more engaging than how we're able to do this electronically. So yeah, I think we're moving forward. We're going to try and have to figure out how to be able to do more of that. But yeah, it's a struggle. And we did also offer, again, with the support of government, mental health supports for our staff, because I did hear some stories, but those who were taking the calls on our COVID support line, they were the ones taking those critical message, the tears, the anger that everybody was going through, especially early on. And then even now, trying to navigate all the supports that are available or ending, it's challenging for those businesses, not only in the restaurants and entertainment, but also tourism and agriculture. And so many people have been hit hard by this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thank you for being so proactive there. And I can tell, I've just met you, but I know our good friend Carly Cunningham, who introduced us. Both of you are amazing humans, and I can tell that you do care deeply about the people that work with you, and that just comes out. So you are showing fantastic leadership there, from what I can see of having just met you. So yeah, I know you have to jump off in a couple of minutes here. Before you do, I want to open it up to Reza and Maryam to see first, are there any questions that attendees are asking, or if not, perhaps either one of you would like to jump in and ask Tom a question.
I just want to make a comment on, Tom, you mentioned about mental illness, and I think it's hugely, even though we have some more attention around it this year and in general, but it's such an underrated thing because it's not visible and people don't see it as disability, but it's happening around us. I've said it in the show many times. My brother used to have schizophrenia, and I dealt with that very closely, and I realized how many other people are going through the same thing and people are not aware of it. So anytime I hear it, I just want to highlight it because it's so important, because these people have a lot of capabilities. They just need some assistance around them.
It's so true, Reza. And if you don't mind, like right before I took this role, I was with BC Schizophrenia Society as their executive director.
Wow.
And working with the families dealing with schizophrenia. And there's 1 in 100 families. It's actually more individuals are impacted by schizophrenia than Alzheimer's, but we hear so much more about Alzheimer's. So you're absolutely right. It is critical. Whenever we can talk about mental illness, we need to. And I know that Minister Darcy in the province is doing everything she can since her Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions was established. But yeah, we can do more. We can always do more.
I just feel that this needs to be part of the curriculum. You know, when we're young, need to learn how to separate ourselves from that inner critical voice, and you know, be able to turn things around when we're ruminating with a thought. You know, it's not a skill that we learn. You know, and it's not that you don't have to, you know, be diagnosed. And I feel that suffering is a way of life, as Buddha calls it. And you know, pain is part of life, and a lot of times what we're feeling, the pain and that we're going through, is just it's the circumstances that we're in. We're in pain, but you know, the system are so quick to write up a prescription, you know, and not deal with it in different manner, you know, non-invasive ways of tools that can help us to learn how to live our life. And also knowing that happiness is not, that's not a constant state, you know. It's like, oh, you're not happy by this cabinet, you're not happy by this car, maybe you need the next product, right, to make you happy. It's an inner job, it's an inner work. And I think the learning the tools would be really helpful from a younger age.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, Maryam, we've had conversations about this at other times too, just as far as that culture of you know, chasing joy, kind of pleasure seeking, if you will, rather than what fulfills you, what actually gives you a sense of value, and engagement, all these other things, right? So it doesn't necessarily come down to what makes you happy all the time, as far as that dopamine drip is like, what gives you a sense of you know, a sense of accomplishment, right, of the things that we do. And I know with entrepreneurs, one of the many reasons that we do all the things that we do here in this space as community builders is entrepreneurship is incredibly hard. It's lonely, it's isolating. We see, whether it's Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, that's this kind of over romanticized filter of what entrepreneurship is, and it's and you see the Zuckerbergs and the Musks and those people that succeed, but there's hundreds of thousands, if not more, for every one of them that are struggling. So we know the stats, unfortunately, that between depression, anxiety, and even suicide amongst entrepreneurs is like 3 to 4 times higher than the national average, which is already too high. So part of the work we do, Tom, you may not know this, but in January, as part of our band Startup Stories, we hosted our speaker series. We had the theme of mental health awareness for entrepreneurs. We're going to do that again in January. So we would love to explore a collaboration there, because it sounds that's very much like-minded and aligned with what you do there.
Love that. And I can also connect you to my former colleagues as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I know you need to go, but
Yes.
Before you do, because normally I do this at the end of the show, but a bit of a spoiler because of who may or may not have donated today, I'm going to do a little musical shout out. I'm a little rusty with the pipes here. I haven't done this in almost 2 months here, but I'll give it my best before Tom leaves, before he goes running away on us here. So goes something like this. Nice donation by you. Jack.org says, thank you. You are awesome, Tom Conway. Nice donation by you.
This is why people come to the show, and now that you did that, half of them are going away. They're done. Show is over.
Well, Reza, go donate $10 right now, and I'll sing to you at the end. There's still time. There's still time.
Exactly.
So, Tom, I know you need to jump off. Thank you so much, Tom, for sharing your insights today. I know this is a first. As we talked about, we were joking back and forth. These things are building relationships like going on a first date. This is our first date. I think it's a successful one. Hopefully you think it's the same. So hopefully we'll have a second date.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you
Tom.
so much.
Be safe. You take care, Tom.
Well, you
Okay. Good stuff. All right, Reza, my friend, I'm going to hand it over to you now to have a conversation with our friend Kevin. So go for it.
Kevin, thanks for being on the show. First of all, I wanna start off with you are, I believe, the owner of Society Wheelchairs company. I want to know all about it. How did you get into that line of work, and how did it all started? What's the story behind it?
Well, I started shortly after my injury. So um, basically, it's like the same type of thing Tanelle's saying is that, we find a need in a place for us in our lives, right? So, when I first was injured, I would buy a wheelchair and, I was just trying to find what worked for me at the time. I was really having difficulty. So I started working in the film industry to learn special effects and all these things about passion. But I was also did it as a sideline was to figure out how to build my own equipment, right? Because I don't know, it just seemed like there was a nice overlap there. I was always,
Nice.
helping myself, and then I was, I had these lofty dreams of working in the film industry. It's a bit of a
Nice.
buzz when you get there, right?
Nice. And yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and then yeah, it's really just gotten me to where I am now. I went to university and continued that education process as well too.
And it's inspiring, same as Tanelle. You guys go through something traumatic in your life, and then you turning that lemon for a lemonade. You're turning that into something amazing for the community, something productive, and something that gives you satisfaction. How long you guys been making custom wheelchairs?
So Society Wheelchairs, we're looking at 2 years now,
Nice.
and before that, it's probably about the past maybe 5 years or so. I've been working with other athletes before that, and so yeah, like Society Wheelchairs, the whole thing is pretty new, but it was just the next step of evolution, moving forward, right?
And I'm looking at the website. You guys are doing some events. You guys are having a community. Who is this for? Who should check it out, and tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, basically, I think we're trying to fit the 8% or 10% of the population that doesn't really fit in. Like basically, Statistics Canada reports that there's a certain amount of our population in Canada where they're just have unmet needs, right?
Yes.
And those unmet needs have like a serious detrimental trickle-down effect on their lives, right? So our goal is to try and provide that support to help them. And I kind of fit in that, and I think like Tanelle kind of fit in that. And there's actually a lot of us, and when we're talking about things like mental health and all these other things, we don't realize maybe people are having these struggles. And when we ask the question, like, what are actual unmet needs? And for people in wheelchairs, sometimes you can accept where you kind of are and what you kind of have for your equipment wise. And that's where kind of we come in. We're like, well, no, maybe we can help you achieve the goals and these things. And sometimes they require things like specialized seating or a chair that's designed to fit you. And so we're working on developing those steps.
And let me go ahead and say the community needs people like you and Tanelle, because it's very normal for a lot of people to go through traumatic times like this and lose themselves or lose their confidence in what they want to do. But you guys are out there telling them, no, there is no what do you call it? There's always a way to get there. You want to achieve something. It may not look like what you pictured it to be, but there is another way. There is some custom equipment or technology for people who have amputated legs, and the technology is advancing there. So the hope you guys bring to the community is invaluable. And I want to know, on that note, what are you guys doing this month as it's accessibility month in BC?
Well, this month, so right now, I've just ended up bringing on 2 new employees, and I'm up to like 3 people. So I guess this month, like I've been just focusing on entrepreneurship and our pivot, which has been returning back to my original goal of developing new technology or a new way of manufacturing, doing business, right? So
Exciting
I
times.
don't know. Yeah, it is exciting times because before the the COVID epidemic, my focus was changing on just paying bills and doing like the everyday stuff, and now with all this going on, it's like I don't know, I'm kind of hitting my stride where
Nice.
I've been finding employees that coming on board and working with us, and then just we're working on new ways to support our clients.
That's amazing to hear. And we have to ask you, Kevin, what keeps you up at night?
I think it's the ecosystem, navigating the ecosystem. It's quite a thing being an entrepreneur, but then being in the medical industry is like a whole nother big step. Yeah.
It's you're not alone. There's a lot of us that find it challenging, and that's the game. You've gotta be in it and find your way and navigate through it.
Yeah. And like I've been really lucky. I have some amazing mentors that have really, it's been so amazing just having them where I can just, text back and forth about things going on in business, and it's pretty cool. And then some of the connections I'm making now, like Leisha Hope is an amazing service dog group, and so we're connecting with them, seeing if we can help them move forward with
Nice.
some equipment so that they can, support their clients and their dogs better. And partnerships.
That's awesome. That's
really
awesome.
great.
And Kevin, if you have any links you want to share, I already linked your website and your LinkedIn so the audience can connect with you.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm gonna ask my wonderful co-host, to jump in and ask any question they can think of.
So Kevin, thank you so much for sharing. And I was doing a bit of research on a spinal cord injury, and I came across this, electrical stimulation. This electrodes that are planted in the spine that communicates wirelessly with an external remote. And I was wondering, there's so much happening in tech, like even with VR, and I'm wondering, are there, has it been helpful, or are you planning to try it out, or what do you feel? How do you feel?
Yeah, so I had actually met with one of the leading scientists or doctors that was working in the field there from at iCourt. And so he was in there talking, we were using the exoskeleton at the time. And so they were talking about like using VR to create like a artificial world, so that way you could reconnect your body in different ways. And then they're doing things like mechanics. So looking at like the biomechanics of an individual. And I know like the group at BCIT, like Jamie Borisoff and his whole group, they're doing like all these amazing steps where they have like it's like a running machine where they stand someone up in it, and then they're able to move, but you're using your body and your body mechanics to move forward.
Would you ever try this electrical stimulation is planted in your spine? Would you try that? Because I've seen good result. I mean, few people who've tried it. I'm wondering what are your thoughts about? It's sort of like a pacemaker that you would plant, but this would be in your spine. Yeah.
I think for like what some of the things like Tanelle was talking about were things like bladder and bowel management. Like those are like huge issues to a lot of people with SCI, and like regaining some of those components really make a big difference. Like it makes it so that way you can go to school, you can go to work, you don't have to worry about secondary issues, that compound everything. And so like things like that make a huge difference. But for me, being in a wheelchair, it's just a really fast mode of transportation for me. So, sure, like getting up and down stairs are it's a huge obstacle, but everyday life, I find the impact is it's less something that I don't really think about so much. It doesn't weigh on my mind. Like it's just a part of my daily activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear.
And my workplace, I've been focused on making it accessible, and I like the goal is to be able to hire people with disabilities as well too, right? Like we're talking about, not all disabilities are visible, and so it's a matter of making a workspace where someone comes in there in a chair, they can come and work, or providing a safe atmosphere.
You help with making the invisible visible, in a sense, right? And how was like your collaboration with Tanelle? How did she find you?
Well, I hope it turns out pretty good. I think it has been. So I had met her at GF Strong originally. So there was a have a go day. So basically what they do is like BC Transit comes with the bus and they roll out the ramp. And so people who are newly injured or just want to find a connection to the community, so they come out, and then all the organizations set up a booth in the gym. And I brought out I usually bring out like cross country skis and a few sports equipment things that I've built or whatever. And so she was, had all her rad equipment out there and was talking about the para golfer and all the stuff was just going on. And I was looking at her, I was like, I gotta build you a wheelchair. And she kind of looked at me and she was like, I don't know if she thought I was off the wall or something, but I texted her a couple times and she agreed. And I was like, okay. Then I met her a couple weeks later, and we I was using some of the baseline tech that we're developing, and then I just built it and gave it to her. And I don't know, I told her I want to finish doing testing, like destructive testing, and she's like, well, you got to build me another wheelchair then. So
Nice. I love hearing about all the backstories. I feel like how clients find you. And,
I think a lot of it's just like it's been word of mouth, because being in the startup stages and with regulations and stuff, it's that it's finding early adopters, right? So to try and engage the large market, I think it's too big of a step for us right now. So we focus on the early adopters, refining our systems and the product, and then we'll look at engaging the larger market as we move forward.
Well, I know Tanelle is a fantastic early adopter, because I've seen her in action. That the speed she moves, if she's not crashing and falling out of stuff and trying to break it, then she's not doing it right. Because that's the way you've met her. She cranks it up to 11 there in a wheelchair. So I'm sure she's a great test person for your equipment, to see if she can break it in half, if nothing else.
Nice.
Hey, we don't have any questions here. We just got another minute left here. We do have a couple of comments, though. A couple of Michael's actually written a couple of really nice, insightful things. I'm just going to read these. And one thing he said here is, the solution is always in the do. It is very easy to perceive no possibilities due to limits. It is great to see Tanelle and Kevin going for it, which I think is really great.
Very inspiring.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think one of my friends told me something too that I think was pretty along the lines is that by sharing our stories, we're opening up the doors for others to follow. And because like what we're trying to accomplish is like so big, I think for us is that it's just showing that basically if you have a dream, you just do all the steps, do the education, sign up to the small business workshops. Go out and like educate yourself, become your own healthcare leader, just get active.
I like that.
I love that. Get active physically, mentally, emotionally, socially. That's what we need to do. So on that note, we're going to end it there. I'm going to read one last thing as that Michael had said here. And then, because normally I have one of the co-hosts end the show. So today I got to mix it up here, and we're going to do one week and one the other. So this week we're going to have Reza wrap up the show,
Sure.
and Maryam next week. But first I got to read one last thing Michael had said here also, as we were talking about kind of mental health and resiliency there. And he said, most people have a small number of symptoms of what could be termed mental illness. Some of us have more than others and are happy to be different. A bit of excess creativity is not an illness. Yes, as you can see from back here with Make Art Not War, couldn't agree more. He says, stigma and labels drive anxiety in people that are otherwise healthy emotionally. And yes, as part of the work that we do here is to try to remove and knock down the stigma that's attached to mental health issues. And having conversations like this are certainly going in the right direction. So Michael, I want to thank you for that. And with that, I want to hand it over to Reza. Before Maryam, thanks so much. Kevin, amazing. Good to see you again, my friend. And I know that both Tom and Tanelle had to jump off earlier, but I thank them also. Thank you, everyone who's attended today, both on Facebook and Zoom. And with that, Reza, I'll hand it to you to end the show today.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Kevin, for being on the show. And thank you, Michael, for doing the amazing comments and all the attendees. So another Tuesday, we've changed the format a little bit this week and going forward. And I'm just looking at Facebook and the attendees. It seems like people are liking the longer format and more content in a way, more guests and more valuable content. Every Tuesday at noon, take a lunch break with us and relax and watch the show, and then back to a productive day. Thanks, everyone.
Good stuff. Have a great week, everyone. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.